how you were raised matters a lot. Like when I was a kid, I'd come back home to India for summer vacations, and I had this friend who was my neighbor. I was friends with all the neighborhood kids, and I would see them like once a year for a couple of months, and then I'd go back to Saudi. And this kid, he was clearly super duper loaded. Like, like a lot of these kids were super rich who were in my neighborhood. Not everybody. Like I wasn't one of those super duper rich kids. I was alhamdulillah I was well off. Alhamdulillah, like, we were comfortable, but we weren't like FU money type rich. And this kid, he was clearly super duper rich. And you could just tell by the way he was, or like the shit he had. And I remember like we would like play with Beyblades and stuff, and like ride bicycles and stuff, and just like just shit that kids do. And I remember I hated his younger brother. His younger brother was this like 5-year old. Okay, this is kind of embarrassing. I know he was like a lot younger than me. I was maybe like 13, 14, and he was maybe like 5, 6. But I wanted to knee that kid in the face. Like I wanted to punch him between his eyes. Like he was such a piece of shit kid. You know what I mean? I know it sounds like every time I record or like start talking on to this camera, I feel like I seem like a worse and worse person. But like he was just genuinely just such a brat. Like absolute, like, I wanted to punt that kid into oblivion. And I remember like seeing that. Okay, I remember there was like this ice cream store, or it was like a general store near our house in the neighborhood, and him and my friend and his younger brother, like their dad bought them this ice cream, or these ice cream cones, and his younger brother, he didn't want that ice cream, he wanted a different one, and the store didn't have that ice cream, so he like cried, and he took the cone and he just chucked that shit. And I remember the security guard of the apartment building that he lived in, you know, he picked up that ice cream cone and he cut off the part that hit the ground, and he gave it to his child. And that kid was the exact same age as my friend's little brother. And I remember that moment. I don't know what that moment just stuck with me. It sticks with it. It stuck with me to this day. And it was just this moment of like, damn, dude, these two kids, man, they have such insanely different realities. You know, like this kid who's a super privileged piece of shit. I'm talking about a 5-year-old. He's such a okay. Astaghfirullah. I take everything back. Okay, I don't know, man. Maybe he grew up to be a great guy. I don't know, man. But this kid who's like this like he's seen nothing but privilege, got everything he ever wanted, and when he didn't get what he didn't want, he just like he didn't care. He didn't know, like there was no repercussions. There was nothing. He just threw it, and like, and remember when, dude, I swear I might start crying. I remember when that little kid, like when he got that ice cream, that like the security guard's kid, like he was so happy. You know what I mean? He was just ecstatic. I don't know if I'm using that word right. He was so happy. I remember the smile on that kid's face. And it's just that shit really hit me hard. And I don't know, man. Like, I feel like the way we're raised matters so much. Like, even if you're like super like loaded, like you need to teach your kids that this isn't normal. Not everybody has the shit. Cause there's rich people out there in this world that have no idea that what struggle is, and that what like that there's people they're like with like the same age as them, or they have completely insanely different lives. Like They don't have the same privilege as these guys. They don't have the same experiences as these guys. And like alhamdulillah, I'm very blessed, and I've never seen struggles to the point where like, okay, dude, shit, I don't know where my next meal is coming from, or you know, I don't have a roof over my head, or yada yada yada. Alhamdulillah, it's always been alhamdulillah. Extremely blessed and extremely, privileged. I mean, I'm not freaking loaded, you know. I am like, normal, and I mean, I'm not, I'm fine. Alhamdulillah, I'm comfortable. But like, there's people out there who just don't even know, and they don't even care to know. I remember we'd come back home from Saudi, like we'd come back to India from Saudi, and I have some cousins, I have some relatives who are not very well off, you know. They don't have they never had the means to like, have like these comforts that I had growing up. Like, such as like, really simple things. Like simple things to you and I, but like to them it's an absolute privilege, dude. Like running water, dude. Like I had cousins who would only have running water for an hour every day, and within that hour they had to like fill as many buckets and water tanks as they could. And these were big families that would like they would drink this water, they would shower with this water, cook with this water, freaking, wash their clothes with this water. It's just insane. Like so, like and like right now I can go in my bathroom and wash my ass as for like hours if I wanted to. The like alhamdulillah, like I was smart enough, I guess, I don't know, to like pick up on these things growing up. Or maybe like, I was just, I mean, I'm not special. I'm just maybe like alhamdulillah, like, like these are things that I just like alhamdulillah noticed. But, I have cousins, when it rained, their houses would flood up. Like their houses would flood. And insane. Like they would see like, like rats and shit, like fish in their like, in their living room. It's like crazy, you know? I remember my parents would always remind me that हमेशा खैर की बारिश की दुआ करनी चाहिए, because we don't know. Like so easy for me to be like sit in my room and look at the rain out the window, from the window, and be like, wow, man, how cozy. I'm in my bed and it's raining outside and I'm like completely warm. There's people whose ceilings are leaking and whose houses are flooding, and God knows what. Like when it rains over here, like literally snakes pop out of nowhere in people's houses. Okay, I've had snakes in my house as well, but it's crazy privilege that I have, that I don't have to deal with a lot of these problems that a lot of my loved ones do. My cousins, my relatives had to deal with growing up, A lot of it is thanks to my parents that I recognize these things. Alhamdulillah, they raised me in a way where I know that my life growing up was not normal. And I got to see that side. Alhamdulillah, I didn't have to live that side, but it just, alhamdulillah, seeing was enough for me to appreciate the things that I have. And I'm sure there have been times where I've been very ungrateful and I've said horrible things, horribly ungrateful things, and I beg for forgiveness from the Lord, for for being stupid and saying these, and just being blinded. But it is what it is. That side of the world, that side exists. People have to. There's people who live that. I'm just talking about it, and I'm just telling you guys, hey, maybe I could give you a stupid little reminder, but there's people who are actually living like that. I don't know. My point with this video is that there's so much ignorance when it comes to rich people, and there's so much. I don't know. I guess the privilege just blinds people. That's the only. And I'm not saying they're all pieces of shits. Like, not all rich people are pieces of shit. A lot of rich people are great. You know, they do a lot of good things for the poor. They do a lot of. They're probably a lot better than I am. You know. You know. I hate doing charity. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. And it was just a stupid joke on my stream that I would say, like, you know, I hate charity. I hate helping people in need. It's just a joke. You know. And I don't know. Sometimes even even things that seem little to you and I are insanely like huge blessings. I'm blessed beyond imagination. You know, I have an AC in my room. You know, it's super hot right now in India, disgustingly hot, and like climate change is whooping our ass. It's the hottest. I think it's the hottest year ever in India, and the fact that I have an AC in my room is insane. It's a huge blessing. You know, it's just, and I again, there's literally people who don't live too far away from my house who don't have that privilege. They have like a fan, and I remember I knew this guy who lived in this really really hot room, and to heat up his room, like he didn't have an AC, and like to heat up his room, he would like, you know, like wet the whole floor in his room and turn the fan on. And he was like, dude, like the water will evaporate from the fan and it will cool the room. And I don't know, he was like figuring out the science. And I was like, dude, I just have to hit a button. I just have to press a button. I don't even have to walk to the AC. I have to, like, you know, just lay in bed and I hit a button on a remote and the AC's on. Like, what a piece of shit. What a, you know, what a insanely, like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Does this make any sense? It does make sense. Shut the fuck up. It makes sense. It all makes sense. The difference between the rich and poor, like it's always been like insane in India, but like right now is crazy. And I'm not, you know, rich. Alhamdulillah, I'm comfortable. I'm well off, but I'm not like, you know, I'm not like, you know, Mercedes rich. I'm like, you know, Hyundai rich, you know, Alhamdulillah, which is still very rich, you know. Not a lot of people can afford cars, you know. Damn, dude, gas is so expensive now. I can't afford gas. Gas is super expensive here. But I'm just saying, you know, like, it's just been eating me alive how I'm I try to do my part, you know. I try to, you know, I don't want to say the things that I do because I feel like then it just like, you know, kind of I don't want to like I don't want to say the things that I do because I, you know, Islamically speaking, when you do something nice, I think there's a saying where if when you give with your right hand, you're not even supposed to let your left hand know. As in, you shouldn't tell the world because if you're helping someone or something out or people out, then you're supposed to. It's supposed to be between you and God. And if you do it like if you pull a Mr. Beast, you know, today we're gonna be dressing up homeless dudes as clowns and, you know, putting him to work. I don't know, it's insane. I hate these videos. I hate those YouTube videos, you know, where all these rich YouTubers are like, today we're gonna be giving $10,000 to homeless people, and it's just, you know, I just feel like their heart's not in the right place, you know. If you're doing something, if you're doing something and you'd have to let people know that you're doing this, if you're doing something nice and you have to let people know that you're doing this nice thing, then your heart's not in the right place. You know, you're doing it for clout. You're not doing it to help people out. You're not doing it for God. You're not doing it for, like, you know, to be a better person. You're just a prick. You know? You're just I don't know, man. I severely dislike Mr. Beast. I find his all the kids in my family watch Mr. Beast. All the kids. My nephew the other day, he's like, Chachu, mujhe feastables chahiye, feastables. He's 4, you know, and his chocolate's so expensive in India. It costs like 500 rupees for a chocolate bar, dude. What the hell, you know? I don't know. Regardless, I'm just I'm just blabbering at this point. I hate the difference between the rich and poor. And oh, back to the kid that I was talking about, who was my friend growing up, who was super loaded. He has a coffee shop now. He owns like a coffee shop and makes great coffee, dude. You know, and but like you could still feel the privilege in him. You know, he like you know he like, you know, like the privilege is very loud. You know, he flaunts his iPhone 17 Pro or whatever the hell. Like it's it's like everybody has to know it. You know, like I don't know how to explain it, but like, you know, he just it's just so like in your face. I remember I was getting coffee for a loved one of mine, and I don't drink coffee. I'm not a coffee guy. I like tea, but I was getting coffee, and I from that store, and I recognized him. And actually, I recognized him, but I didn't remember his name. I'm not a good friend. I'm not okay. Regardless, and he was like Seth, and I was like, dude, it is you. I was like, I knew I recognized you, and thankfully he introduced himself. He was like, oh, it's me. I'm not gonna say his name. And I was like, yes, 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 it is you. And then like, you know, we shook hands, and like, you know, and he was just telling me about like, oh yeah, I started this new business, yada yada yada. And I was like, great date, great coffee, good stuff. But you know, his demeanor is still very like, you know, douchey rich. It's probably not even his fault. And his 5-year-old brother is probably not even his fault either. He probably has really shitty parents. You know, that's what it is. His shitty parents is the reason why they're so arrogant, and so like, you know, then walk around like they have a stick up their ass, and you know what I mean. And yeah, I don't know. I don't like I don't like where the world is going, but I try to do my part and try to be good and try to help with whatever I can. And I hope this video, I don't know if there's any message with this video. I don't know. I was just rambling about how a lot of rich people don't know the struggles of, you know, the world, or, you know, underprivileged people, and that's just how they're raised, I guess. And yeah, you know, a lot of rich people who grew up poor and became rich later are also really mean. They're like, they grow up to be these people where they're like, you know, I, you know, I struggled, you know, so, and I made it. Then everybody else can. And every like, you know, if you work hard enough and if you're smart enough and if you like, you know, really put your mind to it, you could be rich too. And it's like, I don't know. That's You have to be very, very lucky, you know, to be able to get rich, especially like, you know, because of capitalism. You have to be very lucky, you know. If you're rich, if you're born rich, you're very lucky, dude. You're very, very you're very blessed. And I don't know. I think not a lot of rich people know that. Not a lot of people know that. And I don't know. I don't know where I was going with this video. I love you guys. If you like this video, if you like my rambling, please like and subscribe. And I'm going to be posting again soon. And yeah, much love. See you guys. Take care.